Imagine walking through a city where the air itself could kill you, where bells toll endlessly for the dead, where strange figures in long black coats and beaked masks roam the streets, neither fully doctors nor priests, but something in between. They were the plague doctors, mysterious healers who faced one of humanity's darkest horrors, the Black Death. They were feared, mocked, even hated. Yet one of them, through accident, desperation, and courage, would unknowingly change medicine forever. This is his story. The year was 1347. Ships arrived in Europe carrying something invisible, something that would kill nearly half the population of the continent within just a few years. It began in ports, Genoa, Venice, Marseille. Then it spread like wildfire. Within months, villages were empty. Entire families vanished overnight. The disease was relentless, bubonic plague, what history would call the Black Death. In a world without microscopes or modern medicine, people turned to superstition, faith, and fear. They didn't understand germs. They thought the plague came from miasma, poisonous, bad air. So, when doctors appeared wearing bird-like masks stuffed with herbs and vinegar, people saw them as both protectors and omens of death. But behind those eerie masks, some of these doctors, driven by desperation, began to do something remarkable. They started to observe, to record, to question, and one of them, a man named Dr. Charles Delorme, would do something that changed the course of medical history, the world of death. Europe in the mid-14th century was a nightmare. The streets of Florence, London, and Paris overflowed with bodies. Priests refused to visit the dying. Gravediggers collapsed from exhaustion. Survivors believed it was the end of the world. Doctors, the few who dared to work, tried everything: bloodletting, leeches, burning incense, magic spells. None of it worked. Then came the plague doctors. They wore leather coats, gloves, glass eyepieces, and that haunting mask with its long beak, stuffed with rosemary, mint, or lavender to purify the air. It didn't protect them from the plague, but it did something else. It gave them confidence to face the infected when no one else would. The rise of Dr. Charles Delorme. Fast forward nearly 3 centuries. The year is 1619, and Europe once again faces outbreaks of plague. Enter Dr. Charles Delorme, the personal physician to kings, including Louis XIII of France and the powerful Medici family of Italy. Delorme studied the ancient reports of the Black Death. He knew the doctors then died quickly. He wanted to change that. So he designed a new kind of protective suit, the first of its kind in medical history. It included a long waxed coat, gloves, boots, and a beaked mask with glass eyepieces. He stuffed the beak with herbs to filter the air, not knowing it was the first primitive attempt at a gas mask. This invention, born of superstition, would become the ancestor of modern protective medical gear. The beak and the fear. When Delorme's plague doctors appeared on the streets of Paris and Rome, they looked terrifying, like birds of death. People believed their arrival meant the plague was near. Children screamed, windows shut, priests prayed. But the doctors kept working, walking through infected zones, treating patients and recording symptoms in detailed notes. What none of them realized was that they were creating one of the first scientific records of an epidemic. Those records would later help doctors understand how diseases spread and how they could be contained. Their masks didn't save them from infection, but their data saved countless lives in centuries to come. The methods of madness, the treatments of plague doctors were strange. They carried wooden canes to examine patients from a distance or to keep desperate people away. They recommended vinegar baths, burning herbs, and isolation. Isolation. It sounds primitive, But this simple act, separating the sick from the healthy, became the foundation of something revolutionary: quarantine. It was the first time in recorded history that isolation was used as a systematic public health tool. Venice even created a lazaretto, an island quarantine station, where ships had to wait 40 days before docking. From that number, we get the word quarantina, quarantine. The plague doctors may not have known why it worked, but their accidental discovery would one day save millions during future pandemics. The records that changed everything. Dr. Delorme and his colleagues kept meticulous journals. They recorded symptoms: swelling, fever, blackened skin, coughing blood. They noted how the disease spread, first to those in close contact, then through towns via trade. For the first time, medicine began shifting away from mysticism toward observation and pattern. Delorme's reports were studied by later physicians like Giovanni Lancisi and John Snow, who would eventually prove that diseases had specific causes: bacteria, viruses, not bad air. In a way, the plague doctors unknowingly laid the groundwork for epidemiology, the science of tracking diseases, the legacy of a mask. As centuries passed, the bird mask became a symbol of fear, appearing in art, theater, and nightmares. But behind that dark image lies something extraordinary. The mask represented the birth of protective medicine, a direct ancestor to the face masks, hazmat suits, and medical PPE we use today. When COVID-19 swept across the planet centuries later, humanity once again hid behind masks. And though few realized it, the design, the very idea of protecting oneself from invisible airborne threats, began with those haunting figures in black. From superstition came science, from fear came survival. The Forgotten Doctor, Dr. Charles Delorme, died in 1678 at the age of 96, astonishing longevity for his time. He lived long enough to see the world change, and his methods spread across Europe. Yet, like so many figures in history, his name faded. People remembered the plague doctors, but not the man who gave them their iconic look and unknowingly set medicine on a new path. Modern doctors wear gloves, gowns, and masks not out of fear, but because of Delorme's forgotten logic. If disease spreads through air or contact, protection saves lives. That single principle forms the basis of infection control, a cornerstone of modern healthcare. Echoes in modern medicine. Fast forward to the 20th and 21st centuries, from the Spanish flu to COVID-19, and the spirit of the plague doctor still walks among us. Doctors in full-body suits, face shields, respirators, the descendants of Delorme's creation. The same practices of quarantine, documentation, and protective equipment saved millions of lives during global pandemics. We have advanced far beyond herbs and waxed leather, but the courage, the willingness to walk into death to save others, that spirit has never changed. Fear, faith, and the human will to survive. The story of the plague doctor is not just about medicine. It's about humanity's refusal to surrender to fear. While kings hid in castles and priests called it divine punishment, these masked figures entered the houses of the dying. They saw horror and still chose to help. Even if their science was wrong, their courage was real. And from that courage grew the science that would one day defeat the darkness they faced. Conclusion. The image of the plague doctor, that bird-like figure against a world of death, will always haunt us. But look closer and you'll see something else. Not just superstition, but the beginning of modern medicine. Dr. Charles Delorme didn't mean to revolutionize healthcare. He was just trying to survive and help others survive. But his inventions, the protective suit, the mask, the records, the quarantine, built the foundation of everything that came after. He may have lived in a time of ignorance, but his actions lit a path toward knowledge. In the end, the plague doctor, once a symbol of death, became the accidental architect of life. If you want to uncover more forgotten stories like this, the mysteries, the heroes, and the accidents that shaped our world, subscribe, like, and share this story, because sometimes the people who changed history the most are the ones the world tried to forget.